You know who's just joining us? From some location somewhere around the world, Mike from around the world.
Pastor Paul, God bless you.
How are you, Mike? God bless you. It's great to talk to you
I'm
tonight.
pretty good today. Good to be here. Good to be
It's
here.
good to be here. It is. It really is. It's a blessing that we're here and we're still able to be on the air and still able to be breathing and still be able to be sharing the good news of Jesus Christ.
That's right.
All right, Mike. Well, Mike, what will happen now? The former president, convicted of 34 felonies. He gets sentenced on July 11th, 4 days before the Republican convention. They've been throwing the book at him at everything else. Will they throw the book at him again? And my question is, because the stone steps, I mean, you told us about the stone steps was coming 4 years ago. You said you saw a man being led down the stone steps under arrest, and you saw who he was, and you told us just not long ago that it was Donald Trump. Well, this has come to pass. So, Mike, what does this mean? What's going to happen now?
Well, I'll tell you what. Today, somebody asked me, "Is this the stone steps?" And I said, "Well, they didn't escort him down the stone steps, so this is certainly the beginning of something.
Right.
It still won't go away. But first, I like to say, Pastor Paul, people shouldn't be so disheartened. I keep a biblical mindset on all things, and I know for a fact that if any person is ever going to go against a very strong establishment, they have to have a workout, right, before they ever go against that establishment. So in other words, they have to be able to endure a maximum amount of stress. If they can't do that, they'll falter in the middle of a fight. They won't win. Right. So I've noticed something historically in the Bible.
Okay.
Before God called anybody of massive, great importance like Moses, right, and all these Abraham, all these different guys, they went under massive amounts of duress before they ever stepped up to the plate for the Lord. Right.
That's true.
So in other words, a transition took place. Now, because of that dream, I'm plagued, of course.
I know.
But I think if people, specifically God's people, right, they can now shift their focus back to the Lord,
Amen.
right?
Amen.
And begin to be a piece of support for the. Remember when I said that if people want someone to be president this time, they better pray for that person or that person.
Yes.
That's like sending somebody to a death sentence.
Yes.
To be a president this time, and I mean that literally.
Yeah.
So whoever that president is going to be cannot be some ordinary individual, right? They can't be. And this is just part of a process that is, I believe it's in the Lord's hands. I do.
Yes,
I do.
Of
I
course.
believe it's on the Lord's hands. But I believe that God's people, most importantly, they have to align themselves. They got to get themselves back aligned again with the Lord, right? So they're not disheartened by the matters of men, but continue to go forward in the kingdom without being shaken. Because isn't this the moment when the Lord said everything is going to shake, so only that which cannot be shaken will remain?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So if we're shaken by something like this, Christians, then it's going to hamper our prayer. It's going to hamper our support. This is our time to stand up tall and strong, right? And to realize this is our Father's world, not man. Man is about to get an eviction notice. They just don't know it yet. But that, the Lord's preparing people, not just folks like Trump, but we also have to go through some sort of a crucible. And we have for long periods of our lives. We've gone through moments where we had a workout before God called us up to a higher stage and a higher platform.
Does this mean, okay, so to that point, Mike, does this mean that this could happen to us too? Is this the beginning of a movement?
I believe that's up to, I honestly believe that's up to the people. Here's what I mean by that.
Okay.
If, say, for example, a person, they get put into a high position, but they forget about the Lord, they get empowered in the mind, and they begin to, do things to other people around them where God's laws are still in effect, whether a person believes in them or not. If a person jumps off the Empire State Building, head first. They're going to hit the ground. They don't have to believe in gravity. They're going to hit the ground, right?
Amen. Amen.
God's laws are the same way. We're going to reap what we sow. And so it's a refinement moment. It really is, because this is very serious. This is obviously there's quite contention even in our legal system, right?
Yes.
Now the world cannot fix it. They've been trying to fix it since the beginning. It's not fixed.
No.
They cannot fix it.
No.
So it kind of baffles me why Christians continue to look at people outside of Christ, right? And Jesus did say, "You'll know my disciples by how they love one another."
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
So a refinement process is of great necessity if God's people stand up. And when I say stand up, not stand up like the world does, but stand up in their spiritual strength.
Yeah.
I mean, right in front of darkness. Stop running from darkness. We have a bad habit of doing that sometimes, but to stand up right in the face of all opposition and proclaim the kingdom of God and proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And do not back down. And because we cannot use the weapons of Satan against Satan. We can't do that. We'll lose every single time.
Do you think
the Lord is,
are we going to be challenged for our faith? Do you see that?
yes, we
worse?
are. We're going to be blamed. That's coming. So everybody ought to get ready for that. And what I mean by that is this: suppose a person runs into a church and they just start setting people on fire. That same individual is going to sit there and say, well, I listened to so-and-so. Now, you know, and I know that by affiliation, that can start to kill a ministry.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
they're going to say, well, I'm a devout follower of so-and-so.
Right.
And they told me by the Spirit to go into that place to do this, that's coming.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Ministries left and right, that's coming.
Okay.
That is coming.
So we got to be real careful here. You know, the emotions of the things we see going on, we can't start saying and start rallying up and start trying to cause and then all of a sudden be accused of acts of violence or things that could happen. And somebody saying, well, I was led them. This is what that guy said. You're saying people are going to be doing stuff evil and then say that we told them to do it?
That's right. Specifically
No.
Christians. That's
Wow.
right. That's right. It's kind of like those people from some overseas people were calling Americans stupid after they had admitted that they had robbed America of hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And they called Americans stupid, that we are essentially infiltrated. So Christians cannot continue to do the same thing, which is to take up this cause of the world in the world's way. The Lord said, come out of my people, be not partakers of our sins, that you won't partake of our plagues.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
The plagues are coming. They're past ball. Your webinar, you probably don't even know this.
Coach, no, tell
Your
me.
webinar is hitting at a time because the earth is about to endure something. And this is not hopeful. This is not wishful thinking. This is not some tool of rhetoric, right? This is absolute. We're going to have a big problem with our magnetosphere, right? I mean, a big
All right,
problem.
let's talk. Well, okay, what do you mean?
Just so that folks understand this, without the magnetosphere, we're going to be, many things will be set on fire, right?
Okay.
We're about to undergo a magnetosphere moment where our magnetosphere becomes quite chaotic, right?
Okay.
This will happen. This is going to happen right before it totally goes away. So we'll have 10 days without a magnetosphere. Just imagine that for a moment.
No, I mean, won't we get waylaid with radiation if that happens?
Nothing facing the sun will survive. Not one soul better be caught outside, right? That's going to be bad. Prior to that time, there's going to be chaos in the magnetosphere. And who's going to tell anybody about this? I doubt they can't tell anybody about this because you have folks that understand what that means. We have solar winds that are constantly blowing on the earth. Without a CME, just the standard solar winds, without a magnetosphere, would set everything sunlight touches on fire.
So, I mean, what you just said is just, mind-boggling, okay? So you're saying this webinar, we got a lot of great speakers, of course, and Mike, and your presentation is just I just off the chain. Awesome. Talk to us a minute again. You're saying the sun is going to do some. Oh no, you're saying our magnetosphere is going to what?
The Earth's,
Disappear?
that's right.
Is
That's
that
right.
is that
The
a pole
Earth's
shift?
magnetosphere.
What is
That'll
that?
be, you know how you've heard people say, well, if the Earth has a magnetic shift, it's no big deal, right? Isn't that what they said?
Yes.
It's no big deal. It's not a physical flip. It's just a magnetic north will change, this, that, and the other, right?
Right.
They lied, or they didn't know
Wow.
what they were talking about, right? We're about to go through this process. The process has already started. It's beginning. But there's an alert. There's an actual memo, right? There's a memo. There's a document set. Kind of like an emergency document set. There's a change in infrastructure. What do they call that? It's something like an emergency, but not quite that language, because it's understood that the Earth is about to go through that process again, and prior to getting to the point of the actual flip, right? Because the magnetic shielding of the Earth will begin to weaken. It'll go chaotic. It'll start to weaken, right? When it totally weakens, it's going to do so for 10 days. It'll disappear for 10 days.
10 days.
And then it will come back. Right now, the sun is not going to go out in these 10 days.
Okay, so we're going to be inundated then. We have no shield,
right.
no protect. Okay,
right.
Okay.
That means a lot of, for example, if a person is outside, it'll be like standing in a microwave if they're outside. We've had examples of this before in the northern regions of the Earth, specifically in 2004, 2006, 2007, where people stepped into the missing part of the atmosphere, and within, I think it was 15 seconds, they were cooked from the inside out. Cooked. So they were essentially microwaved.
This has happened.
That's already happened. There have been examples. There was they had off limits areas in the Arctic regions for a while because of the missing ozone and a missing chunk of the atmosphere. Well, some folks got caught in that, and it was only for about 15 seconds, and they were burnt from the inside out.
Let me ask you, Mike, is the poles more dangerous than the rest of the Earth when it comes to this activity, or no?
Yes, because if with this magnetic flip of the Earth, right? We don't have a magnetosphere during that time.
10 days.
Everything has to reorientate itself, and it takes about 10 days for that to happen, right? So we have no protection from the sun. None.
I don't even know.
None.
I mean, this is this is big.
No, that's not a maybe. That's not,
it's going to happen.
That's not fear mongering. That's not anything. But I'm telling you, they know it's about to go chaotic. Right.
Yep.
They know it's going chaotic, and even in the chaotic time, in these months that we're about to go through, because it can stay so long as it's chaotic. Various places are going to catch on fire. There'll be spontaneous fires. There'll be people with just hit with high doses of cancer. Right. It's not a very good time to go through. Right. We know that time is starting to begin. They know that time is starting to begin, and lots of contingencies will begin to go in place because of that. That leaves Earth vulnerable in many different ways, many ways. I mean, beyond any other threat we've ever faced. So we don't need a solar flare. We don't need a CME. We don't need any of that. When it starts to go chaotic, the fires, thank God we have the oceans, but that's only going to protect us for a little while, because once that begins, we'll have a mass evaporation event of the oceans, right? That means fog everywhere. I mean, everywhere.
Fog.
And then, of course, after that, it also means prior to this event, Pastor Paul, prior to the magnetosphere going chaotic, everybody across the entire globe will see auroras. And it won't make sense, because they'll say, well, we didn't have a flare, didn't do this, we didn't have this, we didn't have that. How are we seeing this? It's going to be everywhere, right? This time is coming a little quicker than anticipated.
Well, here's a scripture in Revelation 16 that says in verse 8, and the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. And men were scorched with great heat, and they blasphemed the name of God, which hath power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory. Is this a pole shift, or is this a magnetosphere shift? And
it very well could be. It very well could be, right? The only difference would be this. Just suppose that's another event that's even worse, right, than the magnetic flipping of the poles of the Earth. Just imagine.
Okay.
Just imagine.
Okay.
Because God knows we've been through several events already. We've had the Carrington event already.
Yes,
And if
yes.
all of us had a civilization, if we had civilization like this during that time, all of us would have said, oh, this is biblical, right?
Right.
But we know it was not. We know it was,
No,
one of
it
those
wasn't.
things,
No, it was
but
early.
it caused great damage.
Yeah.
World War I and II, people thought that was biblical. I believe it was part biblical, but what I'm saying, these events are working up to it. I believe when what you just read is going to be so devastating, right, that there is no way to describe that.
So,
There's
Mike,
just no way
when
to
do
do
you
that.
see this event? This poll, we're talking. We got this.
It's already begun. That process has already begun, and some of the letters, some of the memos that have just come out in the last 2 days, Pastor Paul, the language is quite alarming.
Tell me about this. Can you share any of this?
Well, no, I can't go into the memos.
Okay.
I can tell you a memo has been, there have been some memos issued.
So there's an alert going out.
This is not,
right.
This is not just talk.
Is this going out to the
talk at all.
scientific community, or is it going to the governmental
This was
agencies?
These are, you could say they're agency level memos that went everywhere, and everybody has to read them, right? Anybody who gets them, they can't ignore them. Let's put it that way.
And this is more than one agency, it sounds like. It sounds like this is scattered out a little bit.
Yeah.
Is this around the world, or just more of an American thing we're talking about?
No, this is a global problem.
Okay.
This is a humanitarian problem of biblical scale, right? That's what it really is. And so, is it survivable? Yes, but it's past Paul. It's going to be not good.
Well,
could you imagine forest fires? All these forest fires we've had. Can you imagine the entire Earth engulfed with forest fires?
Kind of looking like this.
That would be bad.
Yeah,
and so this is what we're facing. So I was quite surprised when I saw the memo. The only thing I could think of was your webinar about this, some of these solar events and things. That's good information for people, but we're in a time now, Pastor Paul, where information is good to know. A lot of people will not have that information,
right?
But it's also time for people to they have to start looking at the realistic consequences of these things, because a lot of people will live through it, probably, yes, but it's not going to feel good, right? It's not going to be one of those comfortable things that people go through. And because we've never gone through that before, nobody knows the extent of what to expect. So it's not going to end the world. That's not what it's going to do, but it's going to burn large portions of this earth.
Well, there's scripture that says that a lot of the trees and the grass is going to burn up. All that's another part of Revelation, but it does say that. So,
and there's
is there anything
on the earth after that?
Is there any? I mean, we're going to have this webinar, and I mean, for instance, BP Earthwatch. What causes a pole shift? Okay, he goes into that area, talking about the binary system, talking about this. Whether you call it plant number 9 or X or whatever you want to call it. Marshall Masters calls it nemesis. He said will cause the Earth's wobble. Gil Brazard has a tremendous presentation on the biblical pole shifts and its relation to Planet X, what's coming next. These guys are, and they used incredible charts and graphs and new data. And so, Mike, I know you are privy to all of that data and more. Do you feel this is the biggest threat to humanity right now than greater than the world wars or anything, or what's
because nothing can damage the earth like what we're about to go through, right? And again, nemesis, I'm glad they came out with that name, nemesis. I believe in a binary system, just binary, right? And so nemesis is that actual companion star.
Yes.
Right. So Planet X would be what orbits Nemesis.
That's right.
Nemesis is a massive perturber. right? So, but we may never see Nemesis. Some of the
No.
satellite objects that go around Nemesis we'll certainly see. And by the way, confirmation 2024 came out with concerning Nemesis and concerning some of the gravitational drag that's been left in the wake of certain objects, right? More details will come out about that.
What is the? Okay, I've heard about this drag. Can you tell us what it means by a drag?
Well, as things go through our solar system, right? They leave these magnetic field windings behind them, right? From their last part of origin. You're talking about large forces, right? Even a small magnet that somebody can hold in their hand, they're going to have magnetic field lines extend out beyond their hand, right? In this case, those magnetic field lines, they extend for light years, right? They're so large, things are moving so
Really?
fast, they extend for light years, yes.
So you're not talking about a debris field of meteorites and debris.
Well, that's in it too, but we're talking about these magnetic field lines, right?
Yeah.
Remember radiation, right? Exotic radiation,
Particles.
all types of things follow those magnetic field lines. They're like highways for energy. And so when this thing begins to continue to go on its path and we hit that point where we hit part of the wake of that, right? We're going to go through some turbulence that just can't be interpreted.
Is that going to shake the earth? Is that what's going to pull us?
Well, Passpal's going to cause some strange things. It's going to mess people's minds up, right? I'll tell you something, the human brain, right? All of us are made from all the elements of the earth, but we also run from the processes of the earth. So if the Earth's magnetic shielding is messed up, so will the neurological connections in our mind be jolted a bit, right?
I don't need
this
that.
This is inevitable, which means as we continue to go on and get closer to this process, a type of insanity will start being in the minds of many people and animals, right? Animals are going to be going to the wrong spots. Their behaviors are going to change rapidly. People are already noticing this. So these things will escalate. They're going to escalate. There's no way these bodies that we are in, they're intimately tied to the earth, right?
Yes.
Intimately tied to the earth. So when the forces of earth change, our bodies are prone to it. It's the same reason women are tied to the cycles of the sun.
Right.
Same reason that men are sensitive, right? We're sensitive to the rotation of this earth. Men are, right? It's a known fact that hormone releases are timed to the rotation of the earth and its wobble. It's just an amazing thing. So our biological systems are intimately tied to the earth and external parts of the solar system.
Well, we were made of the dust of the ground, and so we have it's a Christ consciousness. I mean, we're all part of one consciousness. I mean, the creation. I mean,
well, we can be.
Yeah, if we want to be, if we choose to be.
That's right, if we have the mind of Christ.
Right.
The carnal mind. Yes. In the Bible it says, carnal mind is enmity against God, is against God. Well, carnal is your normal mind. That's your natural mind.
Okay.
But with the Spirit, we command our bodies.
The mind of Christ.
We're not here. We start out, our bodies command us. Your stomach growls, you'll get something to eat. As we spiritually grow, your stomach can growl. You say, nope, I'm praying. Shut up, or something like that.
Right.
So that's how that works. But that's us who know Christ. I'll tell you something. People who have no relationship with Christ, they have no spiritual authority, nor do they have experience walking by the Spirit that they can ignore the flesh.
Right.
They're going to be in trouble, right? They're going to become hostile. In the Bible also, doesn't it say that God will strike the riders with madness,
yes,
and the horses with blindness. And that is a one of those telltale things, right? Because if the horses are struck with blindness, they don't know where to go. Well,
and the riders with madness.
That's right. In today's language, Passpal, if the horses are stricken with blindness, they have no guidance. Guidance is by GPS, right?
Right. Let me ask you. Okay, go ahead.
If our magnetic shielding goes kaput, the GPS is not going to work. Oh, by the way, the Air Force owns the GPS satellites for the entire globe. Yeah. So when the enemy fires at us, they use our GPS systems. Just so you guys know that.
We should be able to shut that down. Let me ask you a question. Which is a deeper threat? Deep state or deep space? Right now.
Well, I still think deep space. Here's why.
Okay.
Here's why I think deep space.
Okay.
The establishment, right? it doesn't matter how strong anybody thinks they are. No one is going to overstep the will of the living God.
Amen.
Satan has to be permitted. Man has. We can only breathe by God's grace and blessing. If the Lord ever said, well, that's the end of that person, well, no breath is going to enter into that person. That's going to be the end of that, right? So that I'm not really moved by what man can do. I'm not, because I've seen the Lord in action, right?
But
I've seen some
right.
impossible things. And the deep state,
Yeah.
they're going to try everything, but they're not going to do anything outside of God's absolute timing.
Amen.
And
Yeah.
that's going to be up to the saints. All the timing of the Father is tied to the saints, because he's the one that said, he's long suffering to usward.
Amen.
Right?
Not willing that
Those
should
who believe.
perish. Right.
That's
okay.
right.
So deep state is is more of your bureaucracy. We call it that global elitist, that the deep state working. But deep space, I'm not talking about Planet X now. I'm talking about, as you know, it's space war. Okay, it's we got the Americans, the Chinese, the Russians, and maybe some other folks, and whoever controls deep space has an advantage over the rest of the Earth. I mean, have we shifted from deep state to deep space?
Well, also accidents. Suppose some small tiny rock about the size of a pool cube, right?
Okay,
hits the wrong satellite, Pastor Paul.
That's a problem.
There's half those satellites don't have enough fuel to maneuver any more times. So if their orbit is interrupted by anything, it's going to be like a ping pong table up there, and it's all coming down here. And we already have even right now today there are 3,600 objects. They are deorbiting right now. So the Air Force Command has to deal with this on a continuous basis, right?
So you're saying satellites that are slowly going to fall to the Earth?
Oh, you better believe it. There are 3,600 right now that are marked. They're being watched, and they're coming down, right? So they have to deal with all this. More and more are on the list. They will be on the list, and they will be coming down. This is a daily thing. This is believe it or not, every single week. The Earth is under this almost like a death cry, right? In other words, if Air Force Command messes up, half this world is going to die.
I mean,
if they mess up, if somebody goes to sleep, half this world is going to die. That is a job of great responsibility, because if they mess up, it's nothing else matters, right?
Yep. No, okay. Now, while that's all going on, look, Kim Jong-un flies 500 balloons over it full of human
trash.
Can you believe that he's dropping human excrement?
Trash, all sorts of things, Pastor.
What is this? How juvenile is this guy? Is it? I mean, am I right?
That's a show of absolute disrespect in Korean culture. Is what that is.
Okay.
It's absolute disrespect. Anybody who's been to Korea, right? I've been stationed a few times out there, and believe me, at 14,000 feet, you can smell Korea before you ever touch the ground. But that place is, but that's an absolute sign of disrespect. Now, here's what everybody should pay attention to. Something else, though.
Okay.
It may seem comical, it may seem disgusting.
It's bad.
But hear me on this. We're at a very delicate time in the geopolitical realm, right? Many nations have a war footing right now. If he can fly trash on balloons, then the air currents are going to carry whatever he lets loose straight, right? Straight to South Korea.
Drop a bomb. Drop bombs.
All right. So chemical weapons, chemical biological weapons, it is not expedient to use those things.
No.
When the air currents are not right. Why do you think China, it's probably safe to say now, but why do you think China, other than collecting a few pictures, flew 26 balloons with the jet stream to map the jet stream, right? Why do you think they did that?
America?
If they were to launch a nuclear weapon, the jet stream is going to carry that fallout in certain directions.
I see. You don't have to drop a bomb. You just explode one and let the jet stream bring it to where you know it's going.
And also, you can't fire at a nation, hit that nation, right? You know,
Yeah.
you're going to deal with the radiation in the atmosphere
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
have it
Yeah.
carry it right back around to your own country. You
Right.
can't do that. The Middle East is the same way. Nobody's going to fire a nuclear or biological or chemical weapon without checking the air currents. And when you see stunts like Kim Jong-un pulled, that's as a very dangerous indication. It is a sign of disrespect.
Right.
But
But
if anybody's ever been in the tactical field of any branch of the military, then they know that understanding the air currents is key to winning a war. It is key.
yeah. Yeah.
And they're doing it. They're doing it, fastball. So we live at that time now where they could launch chemical weapons in support of a
And
greater
could do
war.
it with
Right?
balloons instead of with rockets and
Yeah, they could.
detonations.
They could.
They could use chemical biological weapons and put them on floating balloons and let it carry through the jet
That's right.
stream and drop where they want it to.
Because it is true, nobody can use chemical weapons when the air currents are not in your favor. They
Right.
have to be in your favor first, right? So this means they're in a season where they can actually do this. Will they do something like this? Yes, they will. They have the largest stockpile of chemical weapons on the planet.
What? Kim Jong Un?
Kim Jong-un does. No other nation can match
balloons.
how much this guy has. And he has, you're talking about all sorts of launch capabilities for these things. Can he hit the USA with these chemical weapons? Yes. It may not be expedient. That depends on the jet stream over the USA.
Right.
But yeah, they can do a lot of damage. And I suspect that at some point, especially if things continue to escalate with Russia, specifically Russia.
Let's talk about Russia.
He's going to be used for an attack with it. Pastor, I have to share this with you. I know there's Stone Steps is out there, but this is meant for me to share with you. So I won't interpret this.
Okay.
There was a gathering there. I had a dream of a gathering. Now this in one night, 4 times in one night, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these people gathered in a building. I couldn't really figure out what they were doing. This bear comes out of nowhere and begins to devour everybody. Nobody suspected this.
Wow.
That bear scared me. Now, each time I had the dream, I'm thinking about how I'm going to dodge and get away from this bear because I found myself in the same situation. And the 4th time it came around, I had that impression to share this with you, right?
Okay.
Just to share it quickly and to leave it alone. But a bear came out of nowhere and began to devour people. Nobody suspected that bear was coming either. It was a big one. It was a big one. It was a big boy. But it was angry. It was not passive. It came to devour, period. It came to eat somebody, right? It was scary. So it was a gathering and all sorts of people were there. It looked like that they were trying to get some things together. That's what it seemed to be. They were trying to get some things together. And this bear came out of nowhere and just messed everything up.
Okay, so now it sounds. I mean, I could immediately say, well, could this be Russia making a move on a world community, or is this a more personal thing towards certain individuals? How do you feel? And it doesn't have to be Russia. I mean, it could be some other manifestation here. But was I in that?
No, but it was. I had that impression, right, to share it with you.
Okay,
I did.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to go to prayer.
There you have it.
Yeah, I'm going to
there you have it.
I'm going to go to prayer. I'm not going to speculate. I'm going to pray about it and get an answer. So thank you for that. And I respect that because so many of your dreams have manifested over time, and we've seen that happen. And that's how prophecy works, okay? And sometimes a person has a dream and someone else has to interpret the dream. So that's part of how it works. Sometimes you interpret your own dream. You know immediately when you're getting it what it's for. So God works in mysterious
I'll tell you one
ways.
thing. I don't like dreams. I don't like dreams.
No, I don't either.
I don't.
Especially when I'm put under the pressure of them, knowing that, especially when God is sending you one, you might say, well, if God speaks to me, I'd love to have it. You might love it. You might not like it.
I've never liked
it because it's usually a warning dream for something, and I've got to somehow deliver it, okay? Yeah. So, okay. All right, Mike, let's talk about China and this deal they did around Taiwan. I mean, are we going to see more and more of this? What is this about?
Yeah, that's an expression of power. That flies in the face of Western authorities, right? Yep. If you take note, around the world, everything is flying in the face of Western authorities.
Yep.
right? The West understands, Pascal, that it's losing its grip.
Yeah.
That means they're going to have to do something quickly. Now, here's the one untamable element, especially since the last couple days, because of what the Ukraine did, is Russia.
Yep.
Right. The Ukraine did something outside of all advisements.
They
And
hit
now
Russia.
the US is very concerned. They hit a nuclear site.
Yes, they did.
And
in
the
Russia.
USA is very concerned. Yes,
And
they
didn't they use U.S. weaponry to do it?
Yes, they did.
That's
yes,
not
they did.
good. So Putin is
did.
pretty upset about this because he's thinking, okay, you crossed the line, Ukraine.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
And they used U.S. ammunition. Right.
That wasn't good. And they did that on purpose. The true story is they did that, right, to purposely involve everybody in their war.
The whole world.
That's what they did.
That's right. They're trying to suck everybody in. Yeah.
That's right. See, that's why when everybody was, I know a lot of people didn't understand at the onset this Ukraine situation.
Right.
But I'll tell you something, there's been a lot of, nothing anybody ever forecast ever came to be except the invasion itself. But Putin is not broke. Putin is not hurt. Putin is going to be, he has to maintain a level of leadership and respect among his own peers and community, right? So this isn't going to go over well, right? We already lost. We lost track of several things in the ocean. This guy has nuclear drones. Now hear this. He has drones that are nuclear that can stay aloft for 4 years in the ocean.
What?
Now imagine a torpedo that can be shot out, but stay on a mission for 4 years before it ever hits its target. Nobody can find these things. Nobody can. They have a different type of underwater motion. Nobody's going to go into detail with this because submariners would not have it. Neither would anybody else. But it's a very efficient type of propulsion which allows for incredible speeds underneath the water, right? Putin knows about this. He has perfected some of these methods. In fact, before this Ukraine and Crimea thing broke out, when we were friendly with him, with launching the space here and there, he shared some of their tech with us, right? Yes. He shared that with us.
Yes.
So they have absolutely mastered underwater high-speed travel. They have mastered that. They have 2 giant submarines nobody's able to find.
Can't find them.
They did not explode. The signatures have been, you call them shadows because that's all you can collect information from what was left behind from time to time. But you can't really, you can't
so there's
really
some kind of
find them.
New modern stealth technology.
We've got these nuclear torpedoes, you may as well call them. They're stealth torpedoes, but they're nuclear. And you cannot, these things can stay aloft for years.
So, okay.
And they're on mission and they are autonomous.
Okay, now you were the one that said, you told us in 2014 or something, whenever the little green men from Russia, when they were basically taking over the east, and then Russia basically just stole Crimea, stuck ahead of the gun, said, you guys want to vote? Do you want to stay or leave? And then you said now that Russia's in there, they'll never leave. I remember you telling me this. It was in April of 2014. He said they'll never leave, Paul, till they take the whole country. And then here they make their invasion in 2022. They're taking ground. Mike, they're still making more moves. They're still taking more ground. I think Vladimir Zelensky is getting desperate when he fired at that nuclear facility in Russia using U.S. weaponry that he was not authorized to use. He's put the whole world in jeopardy here, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's he did that for his own security.
Yeah.
They were debating funding for him, so he had to do something. They knew that was coming.
Yeah.
But it happened. It's unfortunate it happened, and it just so happens that it's at a time where we're going to have a lot of with our magnetosphere having hiccups, right? It causes electronic signal mishaps, right? So if you have, for example, a military vehicle, some of that stuff in that military vehicle is on a private net, but it's still wireless, right? Believe it or not, 90% of all military vehicles still use common Wi-Fi, Oops,
Really?
they do.
Oops.
Anyway, that's just not good because everybody understands how how iffy their
Easily
Wi-Fi
hacked.
can become, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, easily hacked too. So, but that's the technology the world uses. The military uses. They're trying to change everything over, but that's where we are. It's the truth of where we are.
Now,
Um,
now, Mike,
Not
let's.
good.
No, it ain't. Let's switch to the Middle East for a minute. Okay. Netanyahu, I mean, a couple of these bombings, of course, and Netanyahu has admitted that there was a tragic mistake. It's happened a couple times, but he's trying to root out Hamas. Everybody in the world is trying to put pressure on him to make him stop. He has said yesterday that the war will not end till the end of the year. Don't even talk to me about it. I have to finish Hamas. It's going to take till the end of the year at least. This is a big statement by him. He's basically saying, you guys need to stop all the rhetoric and all the whining. I'm finishing the job. What's the response by the world by that? I mean, do you feel they're going to let him have it, or what?
No, they don't like it. They
No.
don't like it. They don't like it. They do not like it.
What
In fact,
will Biden hang with Netanyahu through this? Will he ride this thing out?
that depends on those who are actually doing the work in the Biden administration. Of course, I don't believe that President Biden is making all those decisions. I believe that he has competent cabinet members who are making those decisions. Biden is just there, right? His cognitive decline is taking its toll. Um, that's everybody will start to see that. That's another issue, though.
Well, will there
But
be do you see Trump in a debate with Biden? Do you see this ever happening, really?
yeah, I do.
So
Yeah, I
they're going to.
actually do. I think that with this whole ordeal with Trump, now he has other cases. Trump has a
Yeah, he's
lot
got
of
more
other
issues to
cases.
go. Right?
This is only one of many cases, and some of those cases they're serious. They're serious, Pascal.
Yeah, I
So,
know. The
um,
documents, I mean, the documents case is a huge deal. The
yeah,
raid on
there's some
Mar-a-Lago, right?
because if well, that one, but all of it stems back to breaking about five of those cases are breaking federal law, like real federal law, and this case that just happened, that's
Yeah,
just going to give those cases a little more
I
credence,
see.
right, in the eyes of those who would. But the jurors they select, hopefully, whatever they do, they're going to do. But that's still, I'll tell you something. It doesn't matter. They can throw the book at them all day.
That's right.
If, in fact, he is the guy that will be appointed, then
Then he's in.
he's going to be the guy
God
that's
will
going to be
put him there
appointed.
if he's the
That's right.
guy. If
That's
he's
right.
the guy. Right.
That's right.
You're
But I
right.
know one thing: whoever is appointed, they better be strong because they're going to go through a time like nobody has ever had. And according to the Bible, because I know a lot of people are upset, and you know what, Pastor, I keep hearing these statements that somehow uh, they say, well, Satan's not going to win. But people have to be reminded of something. God allowed us to be born in this time. So he didn't make a mistake with any of us. He put us in this time specifically in a very dark world on purpose because he filled us full of light. That's why we believe in prophecy, right?
Yep.
To make a difference with everything, to shine that light, to mess up all the works of the devil. But the Satan is promised by prophecy a kingdom. Now, it doesn't mean that kingdom is going to, just totally zap all of us out. We know what happens with that kingdom. That kingdom is a vacuum, and it will suck every dark thing to it. So all the people who are dark-hearted are going to join that kingdom. They will. That will effectively separate the wheat and the tares. That kingdom will. And it has to happen. But we can't fall apart while it's happening, because a lot of Christians, Pastor Paul, I know they're upset, but Satan is waiting for us to operate outside of the graces of the living God. He's just waiting. None of us ought just sit down and do nothing, right? Because I certainly don't sit down and do nothing. I'll never do that. But he wants, a lot of people want Christians to be aggressive, right?
Right.
To just act with these heathenistic values. And I hope that they don't do that. Because if they do that, they're going to undermine everything. They will undermine everything.
Yeah.
Let the folks who are in these kingdoms who are dark, let them do what they do. And we can resort to prayer, but we ought to stand up for the gospel during this time, right? I mean, for the absolute gospel, that's where the power is. That's where the change will be made, at least before
Amen.
the whole thing falls apart. Because the stone steps, again, because I don't, Do people understand the stone steps?
I think you
Pastor
should. There's new people coming everywhere. What happened today with Trump? Explain again
Okay,
the
I'll
vision of
say
the
it
stone
brief. I'll
steps.
say it brief.
Okay, go ahead.
A brown cloud began in the west, and it gravitated towards the east of America. It came from the west across the waters, and it had tentacles. As these tentacles came out, they went everywhere. They went everywhere. I believe that was COVID-19. There was a person who was standing on the stone steps with people with uniforms I'd never seen before, armored cars in the street. They were escorting this person down the stone steps. It did not look good. The people were divided. The people were implacable. The people were upset. I could see the face of the person, and this dream I had back in 2014, and then I spoke about it, I believe, once on with COTM, once with you, Passport, a long
Yep.
time ago.
Yep.
But as they escorted this person down these steps, I was drawn away from the whole thing, and I could see, there were lots of people out there, and these people, some people were, they were angry. They were implacable. You could not make peace with them or anything else. Some were rooting, and some were just,
Okay.
absolutely
There's a mixed crowd.
angry. That's
some
right.
were mad at
That's
the
right.
person. Some were mad at the person they were walking down, and some were mad that it was happening to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. So as I backed off, I kept backing off. I could see that this consumed everybody, and the whole of America was divided at this point. Divided in many different pieces, and that's when those things came in. The missiles came in, and 20 million. That number, 20 million people died in America.
Mike. So wait. Okay. So the person was he handcuffed? Was it just being?
No, I can't discern if he was handcuffed or not.
Okay.
They were escorting him down these stone steps. Now those stone steps, look, that looked like, that was legal. That was absolutely legal. And but right after they were getting this guy to the car, he had to have protection. He had to have people around him. The crowds were all, you couldn't even get down the street. The crowds were so thick. And
then when did you see?
As I backed off, I saw America consumed by this one event. My focus was put on this one event. As I continued to back off, that's when these missiles came in, right? And when they hit, 20 million died. I could see.
You
that
heard the
caption,
number. You could feel the number.
Died.
20 million. You just
20 million. 20 million died all at one time. 20 million were gone. And that was just not good, and it kept expanding. It expanded pretty fast after that. But of course, I spoke about the stone steps, and
yes, you did.
I said that, but that's one of those things where back then I said, well, how in the world can this be? Because nobody's talking about Trump, right?
How do you feel about now?
He's not even in politics, and then of course he got into politics. Then when he got into politics, nobody was talking about jail, right? When he got into the White House, nobody was talking. And then all of a sudden, this prosecution mindset came. And that happened. Now, to this very day, they won't stop prosecuting people, and they won't leave Trump alone. So it's led me to believe that, I have no choice but to see what was in there, right?
So,
and just in case anybody wonders, no, I'm not a prophet. I just have dreams.
Right.
I have dreams, and the Lord has always guided me since I was small with dreams. He's prepared me for things with those dreams, and I have no choice but to trust him, because I don't have crazy, foolish dreams. They're always these experiences. I would say that because I speak to people, right? That's probably why the Lord gives me dreams, is because I speak to people. I think if anybody's speaking to somebody, God will give them things too. So it doesn't make me special or anything. Yes, sir.
I realize that. I know. And see, here's something. People immediately think that if a person has a dream that's prophetic, that makes them a prophet. No. A prophet is a one of the fivefold ministry gifts that you proclamation. You say, look, I'm a prophet of God. Okay. And you know
Right.
it. There's many people, not everybody, but there are people who have the gift of prophecy or dreams and visions, and that's a spiritual unction and allows the gift of the Spirit to work in them. You're one of those people.
Right.
So let me ask you, when the 20 million people died, was it a specific location in the country? Was it?
It was the East Coast.
East Coast.
It was on the East Coast. That was northern half of the East Coast. That's exactly where it was.
Are you troubled right now after you saw?
Yes. Yep.
To today trouble
Yeah.
you even
Because
more?
I honestly, today I was hoping. I was just hopeful. I
Yep.
always do this. I was hopeful that maybe
Maybe.
it would have been a split verdict or something like
Or
that.
acquitted
To
even.
add
Yeah.
to take the
Something.
weights off or something like that. But no, it was not. And of course, things continue. This thing has just been dragging on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
And there we are with that. That bothers me, Passball, because well, I told you about that several dreams I've had,
Let's talk
right?
about the coffin
And they,
dream.
and
Since
they,
people get
they
confused, I get this all the
yeah,
time.
the
Like
coffin is
two
the
separate
coffin is
dreams
different.
and
Yeah, the
two
coffin is
separate
totally
people,
different.
right? Two
Yeah,
different people.
yeah,
Can you
yeah.
talk about the
Trump
coffin?
is not. Trump is different than the
He's
coffin.
not in
The
the
stone
coffin.
steps is different than the
All right,
coffin.
we got it.
The person in the coffin is this person impacts everything so much that everything changes when this person is in that coffin. I've never seen a person in a coffin before, but this person changes everything changes because of that person. It was weird, but it was almost like the American flag was over that coffin.
Yeah.
And so, the what I could perceive so strongly from this was that will impact America. That's going to
Was this
impact America.
person murdered or just died?
I don't know. I don't know if they were murdered. I don't know if they just killed over. I do not know. But they were in the coffin, and it was a person you wouldn't suspect would be in the coffin, right?
Right, right,
It's almost like one of those things like, no, not that person,
right.
not that person. But it changes the course of America. It changes
Yeah,
the
it
course
would.
of America.
Yes, it would.
Uh, and so, there we are with that one.
Okay.
But anyway, that's how the Lord works with me, though, a lot is through
Amen.
dreams,
Amen. Amen. Well,
Because at basketball, I'll never claim a title.
no,
If the
no.
Lord called me something, I say, no, I'm
I'm
not,
just
Lord.
not going
That's
to
not
claim
me.
it. Smart move, Mike. Real smart move.
Yeah, I never
Okay.
claim a title.
Well, I'll
Never.
tell you. I mean, prophetic dreams or visions are, in my opinion, rare. You get some, but you don't get one every day. But when you do get one, you know it's God. And
Yeah.
then what troubles me when it happens to me is I always say, how's that going to happen? I don't see how that could
Right.
come.
Right.
But then as time goes and then the pieces start falling in place, I'm like, oh my Lord, I know what's going to take place now because I already saw it. And now I
Yeah.
see how it's happening. So,
Yeah.
but we have to be careful with these things. As you know, you've been very, very selective in the times that you've shared things.
Yeah, I get warnings with those dreams, Pascal.
Yeah.
There are times when the Lord when it'll be communicated to me, do not say anything beyond that, right?
Yep.
Just
You
don't
better
say anything.
better
That's
stay
not,
with that.
that's right. And so when that happens, I just have to, be hush hush. But I still don't like
All
it.
right, Mike, let's go
I don't
this
like
now.
it.
And let's go into this. Someday we're going to get to November 5th. Okay. I don't
Yeah.
know what, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. I mean, I know what I want, but I don't know what's going to happen. I know God's in control, but I still don't know
Yes.
what's going to happen. And God is in control, isn't he? He really is.
Yeah.
Do
He is.
you I'm not losing sleep over it. I'm not going to sit around stress out and can't, I just know God's in control, so I'm just going to ride it out all the way, whatever way it goes. What is your thoughts, though? Do you think there's a diabolical plan involved right now? Do you see?
Oh, I know there's a
Okay.
diabolical plan involved with some things.
You want
But
to share?
I'll say this. I'll say a part of that, Pascal, and I'll share this. If I had knowledge that whoever was going to be president was just not going to make it too far, I wouldn't want anybody I know being president, right? Because
No.
what could happen is they could have one president installed and the whole system fall apart, and then somebody would have to step up and take command over the people outside of what used to exist, right? America is going to go through a moment of correction, but it will be repaired. Now, who's going to step up during that time of repair to lead the people?
Better be somebody
That's the
strong.
question.
That better be
There
somebody
you go.
real strong.
There's the question. But the other guy is going to be essentially a victim, right?
Yeah.
So in all cases, sometimes a good person, somebody who God selects, it will not be appointed to a position so somebody can just kill them off so they can be consumed
They held back
by something, right? That's right. God will keep that person in position and then appoint that person over the real nation, I'll say, right?
Wow.
So this election that's coming up, I guess this is why Christians have to be quite careful to understand what the Lord is doing first. We know we are in a very unstable time.
Yeah.
We know that there are hardliners in government they have some radical ideas. We already know this on all different sides, and their radical ideas are just catching traction, right? They're building momentum because many of the American people are becoming radicalized. So we should understand that
worry
too,
about that.
which means there truly is a remnant of sobriety in this country.
Yes.
There truly is. It also means that correction is coming, because when the people begin to do this, then we know what's coming next. We know exactly what's coming next. There will be a correction. Something will happen. And pass ball with some of the disclosures, some of the talk that's happening right now with the heavens, with the conditions of Earth, with the natural fires that are coming, and with the magnetosphere. We're about to go through a pretty rough time. Plus, several terrorist organizations they keep saying they're here in America.
Yeah.
They keep confirming.
Well, they keep coming over across the southern border.
And they're ready to act. Well, when I mean here, here's what I mean.
Okay.
There have been some legitimate confirmations of terrorist organizations who are now set up in America and ready to strike. They're ready to
already
set
here.
the big
Already
Satan
planted.
on fire. They're already here. So we're going to go through some things we did not expect. My hope is that they don't continue to succeed to turn Americans against Americans. America's one big household. It is a big household. And we have a diversity of people in America. If people don't want to be in the house, then send them back to their own house or something, right? But they're trying to take the household, Pastor Paul,
I know,
and turn each room against each room. So they can tear the house down from within. And sad to say, it's working.
It's
working. It hit the political system first. You have folks in Congress who are loyal to foreign nations, questionable foreign nations.
Yes.
And that shouldn't be.
Well, they're bought and paid for. They're bought and paid for.
Well, right. And the people, because we the people, right? We let them through, and a lot of people, Pastor Paul, they don't know the difference between they don't know we're a republic. They don't know what democracy.
No, they don't even know what we are.
They don't know what that is. So they don't know how the system runs.
I was watching college graduate kids. They were asking them, "Do you know who America fought in the Revolutionary War?" And they didn't know. Africa. One said Africa. I don't know. Was it Great Britain? They didn't know. They didn't know who started. They didn't know what caused World War II. They don't know. I'm sitting there thinking, they don't know nothing, but they're in little pup tents in front of their colleges, waving flags and wearing rags and wondering what in the world's going on. And they really don't know what's even going on.
They're demanding that Israel change its tactics, and they're going to hold a college hostage while they don't. That is criminal. That's what that is. That's not a protest. That's criminal.
Well, and Alvin Bragg's not worried about it. Alvin Bragg's not worried about that. He let the violent criminals go. He turned loose. He won't prosecute the people with violent weaponry. He's turning people out. But he don't care about what that's going on. He's got a different agenda, and that guy is in charge. And right now, he is the #1 prosecuting attorney in America. He has made history. They've already changed his Wikipedia page. I'm sitting there looking at it. This guy is a hero as far as
Pastor Paul.
I'm just saying
they do whatever the money, right? They're loyal to money. Truth be told, when a person can compromise. Now, anybody can see President Trump how they want to, right? They can see how they want to. But the Lord has a standard. You know what it is? The Lord said, never, 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 never scoff someone when they're going through their trial. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
When a person is down, when a person is going through a tribulation, never scoff. Don't open your lips against them, because the Lord promised something. If a person scoffs another person while they're down, the Lord said they're going to go through that same circumstance so that they have a full understanding of what that person went through.
Yep.
Now, I'll tell you something. I don't need to go through what everybody is going through.
I don't
Right? I
want
don't
to.
need to do that
I don't
because
want
God
to.
knows I've been through enough.
Right.
And but we, you know, like people, anybody who scoffs Trump while he's down, they're going to go through that. They're going to go through worse.
That's
That's
right.
that's the Father's principle, and it's not going to fail. I've seen that so many different times, and then people scratch their heads like, "What happened? I don't understand what happened." Right?
Yeah.
Because, but we're going to see, because if they start scoffing him, you watch the whole thing turn around. Just
will.
watch.
God's not
But see,
mocked.
this is why, and that's right. But this is why I hope Christians who really believe in Christ, I hope that they stay the course of righteousness.
Amen.
Right? I really do.
Amen.
For the sake of Christ, not so they don't, make a mistake or something, but just for the sake of Christ, so they can see the principles of Christ. Because the more principles we see, the more we're going to trust the resolve of Christ. And then, that makes us, we'll get there one way or the other. We'll get there.
Yeah, we've got to stay on the high road, don't we? We got to stay
we
on the
will.
high
We
road.
have enough. We have weather coming. They're not warning people about the fires.
They're
not warning people about the floods. They're not warning people about the sinkholes.
Well, but
the sinkholes are coming back.
Okay, tell us
coming
about
back
it.
with
What
a
do you mean?
vengeance.
Where?
The ground is too saturated, Pastor Paul. We have magma at the lower portions of the earth on the move, right?
Yep.
Iceland is the last place on earth anybody would ever want a volcanic eruption. There's a secret to Iceland a lot of people don't know about.
Here's the picture of it. I got a picture of Iceland for what just happened.
That's only the first layer. You know that, right? These eruptions are only the first layer of many. There are a few dozen layers. And it's connected, right, to the Atlantic fault. It's also connected to the crack that's open in the Atlantic Ocean that's spewing up nickel.
You've been talking about that. Yeah, you've been talking
Pastor
about
Paul,
it. You mean you're saying this volcano is
it's
running?
All connected.
Oh, no, it's spewing out that nickel at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean?
That Iceland, right?
Yeah.
Iceland essentially is an indicator of an impending event that's not going to reverse. Right. So just Iceland will be when I said this back in the year 2000, if Iceland ever goes, it's going to be the doom of many different places, because the Atlantic, many people, they may not know the Atlantic is cracking open. Every day it is cracking open. It is spewing up things. Right. Now, when you start to look at some of the real, we're talking about the real deal here, not this internet stuff. But the real deal, when you start to look at some of the graphs and some of the mapped conduits from Iceland to that Atlantic crack, you realize they're one and the same system. That's what you start to realize.
Okay.
Iceland, by the way, has, how Yellowstone is, right?
Yes.
So think about at least, I'm going to give a count, about 36 Yellowstones stacked on top of each other. That would be Iceland.
Well, yeah. Then why are we worried about Yellowstone? Iceland's gigantic.
That would be it. It's right. It's multi-layered. And it goes deep down into the earth. And some of the main channels go right there to Iceland. Right. Iceland has gone off before, a long time in the past, and it caused a black volcano. Two black volcanoes to form out of the Atlantic. So people should expect to see, number one, a new landmass coming up in the Atlantic Ocean. Period. Right, that's unavoidable, but that is going to come up abruptly.
What about Italy?
There will be some tectonic shifting because of Iceland.
Okay.
If it continues, there's going to be some tectonic shifting.
So you're saying there's going to be some earthquakes coming?
Oh, some more than earthquakes. You're talking about land masses that are just simply unstable, right? In fact, I know I told some people the other day, I'm going to have to sit down. I'm going to have to do my due diligence and really chart this out based on some of the approved information. So I got a hold of some of the folks who have the actual imagery graphs. I'm getting a hold of those imagery graphs. This is something that everybody should know about. This.
I remember,
this is something
Mike,
everybody should know about.
You showed us a map of the water eventually, the crustal flooding.
Yes.
And you also had a map one time. You showed us the 6 hotspots of the earth.
Yes. So
could you put together this map? Can you be able to put this together that we'd be able to show these folks this
everything?
Yeah,
yep.
I mean,
I sure will. I'm gonna have to get the real graphs. I know I've done the overlays before, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the actual graphs. In some cases, I was not able to use the actual, the actual
They may not give you permission.
photographs and
Okay.
things itself, right?
Yeah.
So I had to have a kind of like a overlay of it. But this time I need the actual information, and because of its status, I guess you could say, it's not quite in any government's hands.
I see.
And that's what's going to allow me to get my hands on quite a few things. But people need to know about this, because
Okay.
this will threaten every single, besides some of the ice sheets that are breaking, that, by the way, could break off at any moment now.
Oh, we hear about that in this. We're going to hear about that in this post-shift webinar.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
We're going to hear
But
about
now
that.
we have this Icelandic problem, and some of the Atlantic instabilities could really cause some crustal shifting, immediate crustal shifting, right? So if people can see it, they'd understand the system better. They'd be well informed on what it is, because the next thing people start saying, where do I go? How do I get away from this? When is it going to do this? So I don't, that's something that all of us can come to a conclusion to. But it's a very big system. And they're not this, you can't find that info anywhere, save the stacking of those calderas. I believe that if you can do this quickly and go to, I believe they published some information back in the 80, I believe it was 88.
Okay.
I think it was 88. So you have to go on Google and filter your searches to find it in 88, or it's going to give you a bunch of theorized nonsense.
What am I looking for?
Well, it's Iceland. Iceland's internal structure, its internal magma structure. And I believe they had those stacked on top of each other. I believe they had that. So anyway, I'm going to have to get that together. That's something everybody needs to know about. These eruptions are going to continue to happen, right? They're going to continue to happen, like I said before.
Yeah. I want to also ask you about Italy. I'm only throwing this in because people have inundated me with questions. Italy, Naples. Should people get out of Naples? What's going on there, Mike? I mean,
I can't tell anybody they should move. What I can tell you is this: Italy has a very dangerous monster below it, and at some point, right, Pastor, at some point, and it's going to be in the near future, because we don't live in a time where there's going to be a bunch of years after all this stuff. We just don't.
No.
That entire coastal lip is going to be consumed. That's a very big volcanic system in Italy. Now, their scientists are not going to warn anybody, because if they do, they're going to go to jail.
Well, of course.
If they get it wrong, if they get the dates wrong, they're going to jail.
Yeah.
So I will tell everybody that's an active system. It's showing signs of massive activity, and that people have to really seek the Lord for their answer.
Amen.
I'm not the Lord. They have to seek the Lord for that answer, especially people with families. But whatever you do, don't do it out of fear, right? Do it out of sobriety. That means stand up for the value system that you have and go forward with your decision, and do not look back.
Right.
But don't make a decision based off some person's ideology.
You got to know in your heart. You got to have a little talk with Jesus, and know for sure that God is leading you and directing you, not based on just only what someone else says.
That's right.
You know, God speaks to everyone, and God has a purpose for everybody's life. Some need to weather the storm. Some need to flee from a storm.
That's right.
Some are going to perish in a storm. I don't know what to tell anyone but to seek God for themselves. Right, Mike?
The Lord will guide. Amen, Pastor Paul. He will guide. Mike, if he can guide me, he can guide anybody.
I can promise you this, Mike. I mean, why he picked me, I still don't know. Leave me in the cornfields, God. I mean, I was doing just fine there. But no, we have to tell the people what's going on. And Mike, I appreciate once again for your faithfulness, for your honesty, for your couth ability to stealthily share information so that we have a chance to figure it out and something to pray about. If anything else, it's like, okay, I can't find this on Google, but I can pray. I got a little bit of a nugget. God, I need direction. And I want to thank you for doing that, Mike. Do.
Well, if it helps, Pastor Paul, I'm going to be, until I can't do it anymore, I'll be doing it.
Well, we're going to be.
It's an honor. It's an honor. It's an honor.
Well, the honor is ours, and everybody loves it. And tomorrow night, people, I can't wait to hear what you have to say in this webinar. So they better get their tickets now, because we're closing in on that 6 o'clock hour tomorrow night. So, Mike, thank you once again for coming on, being with us. being a great friend and a brother in the Lord, and helping me touch the hearts of the people in these days we're in. And I want to thank you for that.
And Pastor Paul, God bless you. God bless your ministry and everybody in it.
Amen. Thank you. God
All
bless you,
right.
brother. I'll see you.
God bless.
God bless.